The chamber smelled of ozone and old incense, a strange mix that clung to the throat. Light shimmered down from the vaulted ceiling of the Synod Amphitheater, fractured by prisms suspended like frozen rain. Thousands of alien delegates filled the tiers, scaled, feathered, plated, furred, every kind of sophont that the Concordium spiral claimed as civilized. All eyes bent toward the solitary figure standing at the center dais, Dr. Mara Qureshi, one human against 400 worlds. Across from her, Archon Lysier Vague glided forward, his sylphid robes whispering like blades through silk. He carried no staff, no weapon, only the authority of the zoological canon. His silver eyes fixed Mara as if she were already dissected. Humanity, Lysier intoned, voice magnified by hidden resonators, descended from beasts. Your genome shouts it, your wars prove it, your collapse testifies. The canon recorded, judged, and preserved this truth so the spiral need never repeat your savagery. Mara's heartbeat thudded, loud in her ears. She leaned toward the throat mic embedded in her collar. And you didn't? The words cracked through the chamber like glass under pressure. Murmurs rippled across tiers, some astonished, some outraged. Dignitaries craned necks, translators buzzed, banners flickered as if the chamber itself had startled. Mara held her hand up, palm outward. A pulse of her biometrics, heart steady, respiration calm, flashed on the overhead holos. If you call us beasts for remembering our origins, she said, voice steady, then perhaps the canon should explain why every species here spent centuries killing to climb. Our claws may be smaller now, but at least we don't hide them behind scripture. The murmurs swelled. Lysier tilted his head, lips curved in a polite, venomous smile. Sharp words. Yet recognition requires more than audacity. By canon law, a transitional sophont must pass tests of temperance. Are you prepared, Mara Qureshi, to let your people be measured against the instincts that destroyed your world? I am, she said. But you should be prepared for us to pass. When the session adjourned for deliberation, Mara's two companions joined her in the lower concourse. Captain Idowu, broad-shouldered in the custodian's slate uniform, folded his arms. You're poking a wasp nest. That quip could buy you an exile vote before evidence even hits the floor. They already see us as animals, Mara replied. May as well remind them animals bite. Beside him, Tezcel drifted, their translucent shard-born skin flickering faint lavender. They carried a bundle of data slates under one thin arm. The canon archives are locked, they whispered, voice soft as glass chimes. But fragments mention an expedition Lamed. Dates don't align. Their report of humans as feral predates the collapse footage by decades. Mara frowned. Fabricated? Or buried truth? Tezcel said. Either way, something does not match. Idowu grunted. You're suggesting the canon's foundation is forged? Dangerous claim. Dangerous, Mara agreed. But worth testing. The first test of temperance arrived without warning. As the delegates filed back, invisible vents hissed. The air thickened, carrying a tang like copper and smoke. Mara felt her pulse spike, every nerve screaming danger. On the screens, biometric graphs of her and her team surged in red. A trap, she realized. Synthetic pheromones keyed to mammalian stress. Someone wanted humans to panic live on record. Idowu's hands clenched. A guard's mandibles clicked. Hold, Mara whispered. She steadied her breathing, in for 4, hold, out for 6. They want us to flail. Don't give them the footage. She tapped her wrist console, projecting real-time annotations onto the biometric feed. Observe, artificial compound detected, not natural adrenaline surge. Correlation proves external manipulation. Her voice stayed level. Slowly Idowu followed her rhythm, shoulders easing. Tezcel closed their inner eyelids, heartbeat settling. On the holos, the red spikes steadied into calm green. Gasps filled the tiers. Mara raised her chin. For creatures branded feral, we seem adept at restraint. The chamber erupted in whispers. Even some delegates who had sneered now leaned forward, curious. Lysier masked displeasure behind a courtly bow. One test survived. Yet instincts cannot be erased. The next will show your true nature. Hours later, in the dim quiet of a side chamber, Mara reviewed fragments Tezcel had decrypted. Old canon entries referenced Lamed, an expedition that supposedly proved humans unfit. Yet the expedition's disappearance was recorded the same month as its triumphant report. She rubbed her temples. They filed the report after they vanished? That's impossible. Unless, Tezcel murmured, someone else wrote it, retroactively. Perhaps to give the canon weight. Idowu shook his head. If you expose them, they'll bury us. Better to prepare the custodian for retreat. Mara studied both of them. We can't retreat forever. If the canon stands on a lie, then humanity's cage stands on it too. I didn't come here to trade insults, I came to put truth on record. And I intend to. The others fell silent. The next morning, chants rose from the basilica beneath the synod hall, drifting up through vents, solemn voices singing of ancestors who shed their tails and clothed themselves in light. Mara paused mid-step, a shiver down her spine. Shed their tails. She pictured Lysier's sharp smile, the curve of his canines. What is it? Idowu asked. Nothing, she said, though her mind burned. Perhaps humanity wasn't the only species that had climbed out of the mud. Perhaps the canon feared mirrors more than beasts. She squared her shoulders. The fight was only beginning. The tribunal reconvened under a dome painted with shifting constellations. Hollow screens hung like banners, each displaying fragments of humanity's past: riots, burning cities, soldiers firing into smoke. Archon Lysier raised one delicate hand, and the images looped, magnified until every scream and flame filled the chamber. Behold, he declared. The beast cannot master itself. Humanity devours its own world. Delegates leaned forward, some in smug certainty, others uneasy. Mara stood at her dais, jaw tight, waiting until silence rippled across the tiers. Then she tapped her console, pulling up synchronized timestamps. Context matters, she said. This footage was taken during the collapse. But see here. She overlaid new data, showing Concordium privateer logs, raids on supply lines, embargoes disguised as containment. These riots didn't begin in a vacuum. They were sparked by spiral intervention. Your own archives prove it. The crowd stirred. A junior synodic Deca, half hidden in the fourth tier, leaned forward and whispered to colleagues. The seeds of doubt were spreading. Lysier's smile faltered for an instant. Excuses, he said, voice sharpening. The beast blames its leash. Very well. We proceed. In the waiting chamber, Tessel's hands trembled over a projection of the Basilica of Axioms, a massive cathedral library at Vespera Prime's heart. Lines of access paths lit in pale blue. The reliquary lies here, they explained, tapping a chamber deep beneath the basilica. Sealed vault, sacred to the canon. Only pilgrims bearing memory vessels may approach. But loopholes exist. Pilgrims cannot be denied if they follow ritual forms. Mara studied the map. So we smuggle our tech in as offerings. Idowu frowned. Risky. If caught, it's relic theft. Penalty is erasure. We need Lameda's black box, Mara replied. Without it, the canon narrative holds. Tezcel nodded. I can craft a vessel of crystal veneer. It will conceal our scanners. Idowu sighed. A thief's plan wrapped in prayer. Very human. The second provocation came faster than expected. As they prepared, a canon herald strode into the chamber. Archon Vey decrees a duel. The human must prove restraint or fall as beast. A hush fell. Mara met Idowu's eyes. He reached instinctively for his sidearm before remembering where he was. What form of duel? She asked. The herald's mandibles clicked. Combat, as the canon prescribes. Mara shook her head. I choose the verbal right. The chamber hushed again, startled murmurs at the audacity. Verbal duels were arcane contests of logic, considered as binding as blade duels. Lysier himself stepped forward to face her proxy. His voice lilted with rehearsed authority. Define the beast, he said, without presuming its nature. Mara answered calmly. A beast is that which you call a beast. Circular. Empty. By your definition, all who threaten your power become beasts. Gasps echoed through the tiers. Lysier tried again, spinning elaborate phrasing. Mara dissected each statement, peeling away rhetoric until his definitions collapsed into contradiction. At last, the presiding adjudicator declared, by canon right, the human prevails. Victory of logic. Applause broke, not loud, but enough to sting Lysier. That night, incense smoke curled through the basilica's arches as pilgrims filed past altars, carrying crystalline vessels filled with glowing sands or whispered recordings of ancestral songs. Among them walked Mara, Tezcel, and Idawu, robes drawn close, their own vessel humming faintly. Choral harmonics resonated through the stone. They descended stair after stair, each guarded by sylphid sentinels who bowed at the sight of ceremonial offerings. At last they reached the reliquary, a chamber carved in obsidian, glyphs pulsing with ancient light. Tezcel set the vessel down, voice trembling with the cadence of liturgy. We bring memory, to honor the canon. As the guard's eyes dimmed in reverence, Mara crouched beside the vessel, activating the concealed scanner. A panel in the floor shifted. Inside lay a black cube no larger than her hand, sealed with expedition markings, Lamed. Her breath caught. We have it! Back in the chamber, they cracked the seal. Images spilled out, grainy recordings of sylphid hunters draped in ceremonial fangs, stalking prey on primal plains. Then edit logs, lines of code showing how footage of feral hunts had been relabeled as human descent. Entire passages forged. Tessel's eyes glowed faint blue. They rewrote history. They made us the monster to sanctify themselves. Idawu's fists clenched. So the canon rests on a lie. Mara felt a surge of grim satisfaction. But before she could speak, the chamber door burst open. Guards swarmed in, seizing Tezcel with brutal precision. Lysier entered behind them, robes immaculate. Relic thieves, he said, voice smooth. The penalty is neural erasure. But I am merciful. Withdraw your petition, and your archivist lives. Mara's blood turned cold. She met Tessel's terrified gaze. Idawu reached for his weapon. Mara raised a hand, stopping him. Violence would prove Lysier's point, make them beasts in the eyes of the Synod. She straightened, forcing calm into her voice. I won't withdraw. And I won't let you erase them. There are other ways to fight. Lysier's smile curved, cruel. Then prepare. Tomorrow, the canon shows the galaxy what a human truly is. Hours later, in their sealed quarters, Idawu paced like a caged predator. We can't let them take Tezcel. One squad, one strike, we get them out. Mara shook her head. And every camera will record humanity reverting to savagery. That's what he wants. So what then? He demanded. She looked toward the stars beyond the viewport, Custodian drifting on the rim of the spiral. We use their laws against them. If the canon is built on fraud, then we will force them to reveal it under their own rights. Silence stretched. Idawu finally nodded, though anger still burned in his eyes. Mara whispered to herself, steady as stone. Truth will hold. The lie will break. But the danger escalated. A transmission from Custodian arrived, urgent and coded. Concordium fleet approaching. The message read. Quarantine protocols. Boarding spikes arming. Mara exhaled slowly. The canon was moving to cage her people before the hearing even ended. She clenched her fists, heart steady. They would not cage humanity again. The Synod chamber felt colder than before, the air sharpened by tension. Delegates filed in under a hum of nervous conversation. Mara stood at her dais, shoulders squared, but she could feel the weight of absence. Tezcel was still in canon custody. Across the arena, Lysier glided into place, his silver eyes bright with triumph. The presiding adjudicator raised a claw. Proceed to the second hearing. Lysier wasted no time. The human has stolen relics, violated sacred space, and still dares to seek recognition. We will show her true nature. Mara answered calmly. Present your evidence. I will present mine. The first exchange began with the cannon's favored weapon, fear. From hidden emitters, a resonant vibration rolled through the chamber, rising into a piercing chorus. It clawed at the mind, primal and unbearable. Mara's skull throbbed, vision warping. She recognized it instantly. Scream chorus a sonic weapon designed to trigger panic in mammalian neurology. Delegates gasped as several smaller species flinched, claws bared, feathers ruffling. Even sylphids twitched, old predatory reflexes spilling into the open. The weapon was not just aimed at her, it dragged instinct from everyone in the hall. Mara pressed her palms flat against the dais, forcing herself to breathe through the storm. Observe, she rasped, amplifying her voice. The canon accuses us of failing to master instinct, yet here you see your own leaders falter under the same pressure. Holoscreens flickered with live feeds, sylphid guards snapping jaws, avian dignitaries screeching. The spiral saw its paragons bare their teeth. Lysier's composure cracked. He hissed, "Blasphemy! Shut the feeds!" But it was too late. The chamber had seen the mirror. In the chaos, guards marched Tezcel forward, wrists bound in restraint bands. Lysier lifted his hand. "This archivist is guilty of relic theft. Their mind will be erased." Mara raised her voice. "By canon law, all accused may appear before the Synod for blessing before sentence. I invoke that right." The adjudicator hesitated, then nodded. "The right stands. Bring them forth." Lysier's jaw tightened, but he could not object. Bound though they were, Tezcel was led to the center dais, head bowed. Mara felt a rush of relief. They were alive, and now under Synod jurisdiction. She met their eyes. "Hold steady. We'll finish this." Now came the turning point. Mara lifted the sealed cube of Lamed high for all to see. "This is the record the canon built its doctrine upon. It has never been shown to this body uncut. Today, I request live verification." Gasps spread. Some shouted in protest, others in approval. Decca, the young synodic who had questioned before, stood. "Transparency is the measure of law. Let the record be seen." The adjudicator conferred with aides. Finally, a slow nod. "Motion accepted. Display the record." Tessel's fingers shook as they keyed the release. The chamber lights dimmed, and the cube projected its truth. First came grainy footage of sylphid hunters clad in bone ornaments, jaws smeared with blood. Their chants praised the shedding of tails. Then the edit logs appeared, dates, overwritten frames, metadata showing how hunts had been relabeled as human descent. The canon's sacred proof was exposed as fraud. Delegates shouted, feathers flared, scales rattled. Lysier lunged forward, voice booming. "Lies! Forgeries crafted by thieves!" Tezcel spoke, voice steady despite their shaking. "These logs carry expedition encryption older than your canon itself. They cannot be forged." The chamber erupted again. Lysier's mask finally cracked. His voice turned to a snarl. "Beasts groom truth to taste. You twist records as you twist your rage." Mara held his gaze, calm as stone. "We didn't erase our animal. We learned its language. And right now, it says you are afraid." Gasps followed, not of outrage this time, but recognition. Delegates saw the Archon flinch under the weight of exposure. Yet the danger outside loomed. A coded signal pulsed through Mara's console. Custodian reports boarding spikes armed. Fleet preparing to strike. Iduwu, watching from the gallery, met her eyes and gave a subtle shake of his head. He wanted to fight. She answered with the faintest shake of her own. "Not violence. Not today." Instead, she opened a transmission from Custodian to all channels, broadcasting calm human voices guiding deep breath protocols, stress rhythms, methods forged during Earth's collapse to keep mobs from tearing themselves apart. Across the Synod, delegates watched humans radiate discipline, not frenzy. The adjudicator slammed the gavel sigil. "Order! We proceed to vote." Lysier tried one final time. "Recognition of beasts will doom us all." Do not let them breed chaos among us. Mara raised her chin. Civilization is not a muzzle. It is a hand on the wheel. You claim we are beasts. But when the chorus played, who kept calm? When the fleet threatened, who chose restraint? Who showed you the mirror? Silence fell. The question hung like a blade. The vote began, lights flaring across tiers as blocks cast judgment. Numbers flickered, close, terrifyingly close. Finally, the tally froze. Recognition passed by 12 votes. Mara closed her eyes, a tremor of relief breaking through her composure. Tezel sagged beside her, tears glimmering. Idowu exhaled, shoulders finally easing. Across the chamber, Lysier stood motionless, a figure of rage turned brittle. The adjudicator's voice carried. Humanity is recognized as softened. Enclosure decrees are null. The zoological canon is hereby dissolved pending inquiry. The aftermath carried weight. Delegates argued, shouted, stormed from the chamber. But the decision stood. Lysier was stripped of authority, condemned to a monastery of silence, where false words could no longer shape truth. Later, in the quiet of the Ark nursery aboard Custodian, Mara stood among rows of starlit cradles. Children gazed up at real constellations, no longer shadows on a wall. She recorded a message for them. Your animal is not your enemy. It is your engine. You hold the wheel. Never let anyone take it from you. Behind her, Tezel whispered, voice fragile but hopeful. The spiral will never see beasts the same way again. Mara smiled, though exhaustion etched her face. Good. Because we aren't beasts. We're builders. And now we begin again. She looked once more toward the stars, steady and unflinching. The fight had been brutal, the cost sharp, but the future was theirs to claim.